This da Ebinakan. Welcome to podcast number 89. Well, I ain't going to talk too long tonight because I nearly said then what my Cornish dialect of the week was going to be actually, but I'll say that directly, but I'm having a hang of a week. And I think next week is going to be even worse. So hopefully I'll have time to do a podcast next week, but it's looking, a bit iffy at the minute. But I think where it goes wrong at work is staff holidays. Now, when I started with Father never took any holidays. I never had any holidays. And in fact, when Char come on with us, the only holidays Char ever had was the week for the Royal Cornwall show. And I was getting soft then, letting him do that. But we're getting hellish soft now because we let them all have holidays. And we got staff holidays and days off this week and next week. And so my life has reverted back to what it used to be a few years ago, where I get home, have a quick cup of tea, have me tea, back to work till about 10 o'clock, then working the weekends as well. So 'tis back like it used to be. And during the day at work, I just feel like I'm being dragged in about 20 different ways. This hangish, I tell you. But, the week just flies by as well. I worked most of last weekend. We had a dear friend who I've known for a long time. I'll talk about him a bit in a future podcast. Passed away at Saltash on Saturday, so we brought him back into our care. And then Sunday, Days and I, we attended a burial of ashes down at Perthilly. A friend of mine who lives in France brought her mother's ashes back. And Perthilly, 'twas handsome. Sun was shining, tide was out, but 'twas still handsome. And they say this week we've just been going flat out. We even went abroad for a funeral this week. Another dear friend of mine, we looked after her mother. Again, the funeral was Saltash. And then we went to England for the cremation at Weston Mill. So we had to dig out our passports for that. We had to pay to get out of Cornwall, but they let us back in for nothing. And today was the end of the era for me. 'Tis the first time in 30 years that I haven't got any children at school. It started back in 1994 when James started school, and it's been going on ever since until today when Mabon had her last official day at school, 30 years later. When I started with James, I think I was one of the youngest parents there. Now I think I'm one of the oldest. And I nearly said to Miss Yardley, the headmistress, that could they install a stair lift for me for the parents' evenings? But where's that time gone? Just flown by. But a new era does start in September when Jesse, our oldest grandson, starts school. So there we go. So we'll go over now to my dear friend Martin for the last part of his interview, and I know you'll enjoy this. I've listened to it twice already, and I think it's brilliant. He come out with some lovely stories, I tell you. And then after, when he finished, I'll just do me Cornish dialect of the week and something Cornish. So here goes, over to Martin, and I'll speak to you directly. Here it is.
Did he ever go in the sea much or no?
Well, I didn't to begin with, but then we did, and I used to, in the evenings, just normal little surfboards until November, and then that was it. First week in November, that was cold enough for me anyway. People go swimming all either around, I do not know.
No.
Anyway, Ken and myself, we made our own wetsuits, sent away for the rubber, pattern, chalk, glue. Yeah. Done it all. I went in on Boxing Day, with a wetsuit, and I remember saying, it was warmer with the wetsuit on Boxing Day, and it was in the summer without. But I know I went down with flu on over New Year. I'd caught a cold or something.
Yeah.
I enjoyed myself too much. I got a feeling, I like to think that between the beach cafe and myself, we was the first people that hired out surfboards, and I hired out my own board, and that paid for my board for the summer. Sadly, it's got broke last year. Not one of these great old big long ones. Sir Ken was clearing out of it, his house to go in Weybridge. And he still had his board there.
Did he really?
He's down here now. Didn't think he'd go in again, I suppose.
That's Ken White, isn't it?
Ken Butcher White, yeah. He's down where Dewson's Yard.
That's right. Yeah.
I think he settled in, but he got a lift.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he got a lift. And on my first time when I went in to kind of see a dear Ken, and I said, what's the lift like? Oh, we'll go up in the lift if you like. Went up halfway, stopped. Oh, what do I do now, Ken? Well, Ken read the numbers. There's a number there for the people that built the... Anyway, we had their number and the manufacturers in Switzerland.
Right.
Yeah, and there was another number. Anyway, Ken picked up the phone. Oh, he did say bother. I think there was something like that. The phone wouldn't connect. He only had moved in and the phone wouldn't connect it.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I had me mobile, so it didn't work. Yeah.
Oh, that was all right.
So we rung, and two ladies came to a rescue. Mind you, we nearly didn't get rescued because before you could get, we was locked in there. The downstairs door was locked.
Oh,
but there is a key safe outside, so Ken had an awful long time to remember this number point, but he did a bit of quick head scratching and come up with the number, so he let herself in. And,
brilliant.
And turned the key, and I think we were stuck between floors. Up we come and out we got.
Yeah.
But I don't know whether Ken is a regular rider in the lift now or no.
No.
Or whether he puts the supplies in there, presses a button, and he goes up the stairs, keeping using the ploy that exercise on the stairs do eat good.
Yeah. Of course, we got the oyster catcher here now.
Oh, yeah.
What was that called back years ago?
Posat Hotel.
Posat Hotel.
Well, still call it Posat Hotel. 2 bars.
Right.
Yeah, the public bar and the lounge bar. 2 different prices, of course.
Yeah.
So we'd always go in the public bar.
And that was the Rook family, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're all.
Yeah.
Yeah, dear Mrs. Rook told me about dear Les Silas now. Les used to work for father.
Right.
And he is a very good worker. Put a lot of effort into his work, and red faced, because you wouldn't remember Les.
No.
Oh yeah, round face. Always cheerful. He come in and he got his first proper council house. I think it was must be council house. I don't know where he lived before that.
No.
Anyway, just throw down on the bar his key ring with the 3 keys.
Right.
He said, front door, back door, and outhouse. Front door, back door, and outhouse. Very pleased with this. Lovely. Anyway, I say Father's Day.
And of course, you used to have a doctor's surgery up that area.
Yeah.
Is that gone now, is it? The surgery or no?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Quite some time ago.
That would have been Weybridge Doctors, would it? Or Port Isaac?
Port Isaac.
Port Isaac.
But Port Isaac have now got Weybridge as well as
Yeah.
Port Isaac. Yeah. I don't know any other big changes. Just happens gradually.
It do, doesn't it? Yeah.
But somebody that haven't been down for 2 years, they've noticed some difference.
Yeah, that's right. COVID pretty affected you here, didn't it?
It was different.
Yeah.
Yeah, the government had a very good scheme on for I don't know why. I don't think it worked out too bad. We borrowed, I think about 150,000, I think, to keep going, and had to pay it back, mine.
Yeah.
But I think it was reasonable interest.
Yeah.
And they paid the wages. I don't exactly know how it worked.
No.
Got through it.
Your 2 children come along?
Yeah.
Who's the oldest? Are they parenting?
Adrian.
Adrian's oldest.
He must be getting on now.
Oh.
I think we've had his 50th.
Time flies, doesn't it? Eh?
Yeah. Sue.
Yeah, soon.
And she's up. But she sold Rose Vardock.
Yeah.
I didn't want her to sell it one. Because you don't want to sell anything really. Mr. Snell that lived up here, he said, don't want to sell. what was the last thing you want to do? And if you really got to sell, still don't sell. You know?
So when does your season really kick off here then?
I like to think it combines with when we're ready. I had an Easter this year, very early.
Yeah.
I had a young man well, I didn't know he was young, but he sounded a bit young on the phone. He said, we're coming down to Paulseth, but I've heard at the campsite that I'm going to his clothes because it's too wet. Have you got room? I said, tell me, how many are you again? He said, 5. I said, that's your mother and father and your granny and grandpa, is it? He said, no. Well, I said, of course I know it wasn't your mother and father and granny and grandpa. Maybe too sensible to come down this weather for Easter for holiday. Okay. Yeah, we've 5 young men. Anyway, they had a good time. I found a spot for them. And it was quiet, but last weekend, May bank holiday.
Oh, yes.
Whitsun, nearly about 2 this week, just gone. But anyway, that actually get us on our toes, the May bank holiday.
Yeah. Got
to get ready.
Yeah.
But look out, in a couple of weeks' time, we got the spring bank holiday, which is the old Whitsun that's now permanently set at the end of May. It is totally booked up. It's like that from year to year. There's a few people that don't come, but so that it's just pretty hard. Yeah. It goes quiet again then, but we have some schools in, so that's keeps it turning over. It eases up a bit until just the 6 weeks of school. I know. Of course, we got the public school holidays. How could one forget that? I know there's somebody living over Rock. We can't say who to is, but they happened to be coming up Rock Road, and there's 1 or 2 plant pots upset and seats the wrong way. He said, they say it is high spirits. He said, when we was young, we was called hooligans. But father said, there's nothing wrong with the youngsters today that 10 years won't put right. I don't exactly know what he meant, whether inside or no. But I think really take a few more years now.
Yeah.
And it's the vast numbers over the years, over the last, before COVID I nearly thought about shutting the campsite for that fortnight because I couldn't manage to look after them. Yeah, I suppose I should have got security in as opposed to try to do it myself. But when you're younger, you think you can do it all. And I prided myself at the time. I could manage 2 jobs at once.
Yeah.
And that was finishing the bar, 11:30 tidy up, go and clean lavatories and see it at midnight. And then I'd take an hour or so. And while you're cleaning lavatories, you haven't got to work fast. You can listen out to see if there's anybody misbehaving themselves, coming home late and driving around silly. Used to be able to do that. I can't do that now.
No.
Anyway, there was joyous laughter ringing out loud. Couldn't exactly tell where it was to when I was in cleaning. I come outside and waited. It wasn't long for fun again, ladies laughing.
Right.
So I pinpointed it. There was only 2 or 3 lights on, and I went over to this caravan, windows open, doors open. I just waited outside for a few moments, and then whoopee again. So I stuck my head in the window. I said, for goodness sake, shut the doors, shut the windows, and shut up. And I shut the window and left until the following day. Well, I get a lot of trouble from the people I know, as much as from anybody that don't know. So I went around the next day, cheerful, to a certain degree. They'd have to tell them off again. I was awful sorry. I was playing cards, and kids that all go in bed, go and sleep. They tired themselves out in the surf and one thing or another. But the 3 sets of parents was enjoying themselves. Yeah, come to life.
Yeah.
Cool. On holiday. I said, you can enjoy yourself here. Not after 10 o'clock, anyway. Yeah,
so I don't know if there's any other stories, any other funny stories characters or anything
I'll probably
to round off.
I've got one that you might have to delete a little bit. But, a lady came into the office and said to Trina that she'd got a complaint. Well, Trina had a bit of a job. She had to come in and tell me, and she got stopping herself from going into hysterics. The lady on her own, and she had a 15-year-old son and a 13-year-old daughter. And the next tent, which was quite close because the back end of one tent was backed up against the back end.
You're right.
And there was a not awfully young couple in the next tent, but just a couple on their own, in their late 20s, I suppose. And I had to go and see them,
Right.
because this dear lady woke up 2 or 3 times a night.
Oh, crumbs.
Yes. Well, I discussed it with Libby. I can't remember if before or afterwards, but I said 3 times was just more than I could put down to such things as what was being said. But Libby said, no, it is possible. I had to. So anyway, I went up to the tent, just driving by, and I saw the young lady, and I drove by. I thought, I can't. Anyway, I drove by, and I come back, and I said, you've got to go and see him. So I did. I stopped the second time. So I went in, and I said to the lady, I don't suppose you got any idea why I'm here? And she said, no. Oh, I thought, well, stop me. Anyway, then the gentleman came back from the toilet block, and I, hello, shook hands, got up, went out of the tent, shook hands, and I said, I don't suppose you got any idea why I'm your another? He said, no. That bee woman in the tent next door, I said, well, she did come down, and she complained a bit that your activity was waking her up in the night, and she didn't want her children exposed to such goings on. Yeah.
Goings on, yeah.
Huh, he said. Huh. So he went and got his foot pump, and he said, we got a slow leak in the air bed. He said, and so I get up 3 times in the night, and the pump is noisy, see, and he's heard somebody, until he pumped him up, and his wife laughing.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, so we had to laugh a bit, yes. And so, yeah, it was all right now, so I thought I'm going to tell it anyway. Anyway, before I went, we probably had a cup of tea, and over the chat I said about the site, and I said, I've had 10 deaths on the site, actually, since I've run it. And, but I do console myself that we probably had more conceived on site. So if you're successful with your vigorous sex 3 times a night, let me know, because it would be nice to keep account of who have been conceived on site. Anyway, that wasn't the end of the story, so we laughed and said cheerio and got on my way.
Right.
And the lady wanted to move anyway, so later on in the day I caught up with the lady in the next tent. I said, I've managed to find another caravan for you so you can move away. And I said, I've been and seen the people. She said, yeah, I know, I was in the tent, one tent at the time, and I thought, oh my goodness me, what did I say? So anyway, I said, I got another caravan because you wanted to move. Yes, he said, last night I had to sleep in my brother's awning of his caravan. So anyway, this caravan I found, somebody gone home early from Libby's caravan.
Right.
And so I put him in there. And when I told Libby that I'd put people in her caravan, she immediately jumped to the conclusion I'd moved the young couple. No, I said, no, she said, they'll be breaking my bed. And she was concerned about her caravan. I said, no, there's the lady and the children. I got away with that. Yeah. So, anyway, I think that was perhaps one of the not most difficult situations. Probably one of the difficult to start with. But
Yeah.
And all was well at the end. But,
Yeah.
Your lady was a bit upset. But so anyway, tent was too close together anyway.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Well, I think should we round off for now? And then I'll always
we have
come back and do another episode, can I?
Yeah.
So if you want to say goodbye to everybody for now.
This is on video as well, is it?
No, not video, just audio.
Just audio.
Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping I spoke loud enough for everybody, and I hope it have been interesting. It's certainly been a bit of fun, and I'm looking forward to doing another one because I've done my DNA with Libby, and it throws a bit of history, and I find out a bit more and let you know next time if you're half interested.
Yeah, brilliant.
Right, you well, every blessing, and pray that the Lord with yourselves and with us as we go forward into another late evening and tomorrow with whatever comes before us. We pray that the Lord gives us the strength to deal with the days that come, and praise the Lord. Thank you. If you've listened this long, thank you.
Proper job. Thank you. Thank you, man.
We've done all right.
I think we have.
I think we'll have a cup of something, or I've got a little glass that we could fill.
Right on, man.
Lovely.
Proper.
Right.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Proper job, and I'm sure we'll be speaking to Martin again. Now, I'm going to do my Cornish fact or something for the week, but before I do, I must thank Steve from over St Austell. He got in touch a week or two ago, and he said to me, I've got 127 Cornish Guardians that I've been storing over the years from 1933 to 1943. Do we want them? Fantastic. I said I'd love them. So he dropped them over. I haven't had a chance to look at them yet, but what I'm planning to do is perhaps go through them and just read a little extract or something that I see that might interest you from The Guardian, because we're looking now, coming up nearly 100 years ago. So that's my plan for the future. But me Cornish fact for this week, I did look at this book again, and it says what the largest parish in Cornwall is, which is Alternun. Now, I might have told you before, I was listening to Radio Cornwall a few years ago now, and they said Alternun. Yeah, that's right. They got their syllables right. 'Tis Alternun. Now, that's the largest parish in Cornwall, and the smallest one is St Michael's Mount, which I didn't realise that, so that was proper. And for my Cornish dialect of the week, I've given this a lot of thought, actually, because I didn't know if I ought to censor it myself or whether the podcast authorities might podcast it. 'Tis a little bit, swearing? I don't know. Anyway, I spoke to a few of my bearers that was in work today, and I said to they, did I ought to use perhaps, clean it up a little bit? It isn't that bad. And they said, no, say it as it is. But they were a roughy old crowd anyway. But as I said at the beginning of my podcast, at the minute, I don't know which way to turn. I'm being pulled in every direction. I'm going flat out. And I say the Cornish dialect for this. It might not be just in Cornwall. They might say it all over the country, over the world. I don't know. But if you flat out, you don't know what way to turn, you say, cool, I'm pissing out straight. Pissing out straight. And that's what I've been doing this week. And I think I will be next week too. So I hope I didn't upset anybody by saying that, but that's how it is. Right, well, I'm going to leave you now. 'Tis Thursday now. I'm actually recording this. 'Tis 20 to 8. So I'm going to whip back over work now, get a couple hours in, and then I'll just do the final tweaks to this tomorrow, ready to go out on Saturday. So I hope you have a good weekend. And of course, 'tis bank holiday again on Monday. 'Tis like a holiday to me, although I will be working. But I do wish you well. Hope you have a good week. Do Guinness. Carnobus Vicken.